welcome in. This is the Round Pen, and today I have got our lead pastor, Nathan Duncan, back with us. We've done several podcasts together, and Ken Bond, who is a lay pastor here. He is also the facilitator for our arena team. Ken's a first-timer on the Round Pen podcast. We were talking a little bit beforehand. Ken has been here since year one, nearly probably a month into after the church got started. And
Sale barn days,
back in the sale barn days. And I did not experience sale barn days. I was here 5 years, nearly to the week. I think we came the week after the 5th anniversary of the church. But start out, I just want to talk about, we're coming up on our 15-year anniversary.
Yes,
this podcast will definitely be out before the 15-year anniversary. So we're going to talk about that a little bit here in just a minute or a few minutes. But what are some milestones or some memories that y'all have from over the years that just kind of stick out to you as far as church life and what's going on at Thousand Hills?
Probably the first thing that comes to my mind is from the sale barn days. Even today, if I smell pine saw, I think of the sale barn days, because during the sale barn days we would go in on Saturday night, scoop everything out of the arena, out of the sale arena.
And by everything he means cow crap.
Yes, manure, spit cups, spit on the seats. We'd mop, we'd get all that out, and we used a lot of pine saw because that was the only thing that would almost cover the smell. So now when I smell pine saw or cow manure, I think of the early days of Cowboy Church.
Yeah. And the reason why we used pine saw was exactly right. It was so strong because, there were a lot of ladies back in the day that wanted their husbands to go to a church somewhere, and they would show up with their husbands. They may have went somewhere else. Their husbands didn't go to church, didn't care about church, would show up at the sale barn, and for whatever reason would come and say, man, this place is nasty. It's a sale barn. Yeah, exactly. I mean, It is church at the sale barn. I mean, it's probably one of the lowest level buildings to have for a new church start, especially. So we used a lot of pine saw to kind of mask that manure smell. Of course, you couldn't get rid of the splatter up on the wall.
Was there.
It probably made it pretty easy to visualize the Christmas story when you gave.
There's no doubt. And every Christmas, as we talked about the birth of Christ, that was always brought up.
Oh yeah,
because I think I may have said it in the former podcast. It was cold in the winter, even though there was heat, and it was hot in the summer, even though there was AC. Just because it was a barn. I mean, at the highest level.
No insulation.
And not the best barn, an old barn, outdated barn. We actually pressure washed it one time. Pressure washed the whole thing, in the whole inside of that, all the seating, the concrete backdrop, the whole night, and went back and actually painted it. We painted it. It was perfect. I mean, like scrape cow crap off the walls, because I mean, when a cow's loose, it's liable to splatter up to the ceiling when they're running them through the barn. And we scraped it and washed it down. It was a mess with a pressure washer in there. We dried it out and then painted it, I think, during like the 4th of July break.
Yes.
Where we had like a couple week break in year, I guess that would be right before year 2. So
don't know if the cattle buyers ever appreciated the clean barn.
I would probably not think so.
They probably didn't care. Didn't notice
every Saturday night there was the same amount of spit cups, or people that didn't use a cup, they just spit on the floor. We go in there and mop it, sweep it, and try to get it presentable. Set up the instruments and the drum kit.
Yep, whole night.
And back then it was you sang. You did the announcements?
In year 3, Andy Hennington, of course, he's back now. He plays drums, and he's our technological nerd for all nerd things here at Thousand Hills. But he led the first 2 years, and then he got a job in Nashville.
Yes.
And moved. He got an apartment up that way and just didn't feel like he could really do the commute, anymore. Maybe, just need a little bit of a break. And so I did it then from there up until for 2 years, because I did it up until we moved into the first phase of this building.
Yes.
Yeah.
That we're in tonight. So yeah. I did it for 2 years.
Did a good job. A lot of people. I still hear people that are here that are still coming here from the sale barn days. Ask all the time, you think Nathan will ever sing again? I said, I don't know. You just have to ask.
Maybe at a youth gathering every now and again.
Yeah,
breaks out those old Chris Tomlin songs.
Old school, man. I don't know a lot of these newer songs now, but who you never can tell. Maybe there'll be a resurgence at some point. I hope I don't have to lead worship again on Sunday mornings. That was a lot to preach and all that.
But you led it with an acoustic guitar, drum kit, and I think we had a bass player.
Bass guitar. Ian always played bass. Yeah.
John Michael Ogic's son played bass.
Mm-hmm.
It was a 3-piece band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. That pulpit that I still preach out of today, we moved it in and out.
355 pounds.
Easy.
Every Sunday, as soon as church was over, we break everything down and get it out so that they could go ahead and have the cattle sale. And, like I said, I don't know if they ever appreciated a clean barn, but
y'all would clean out the sale area where the cattle run through every week.
We would take the sand, that particular pen, and like a lot of them do, had that sand in there. And so we would just kind of take it and push it off to the sides. So the pulpit and everything, the band, amps and all those things kind of sit on a solid piece of ground.
We had one of them Oriental rugs. We'd roll it out and set the drum.
I forgot about that. Yep. And we had a curtain at one time that would cover up the auctioneer booth.
Yes.
Just because it was, it just kind of gave a little bit better backdrop. And I think we actually started, of course, we didn't have any money when we started. We were zero budget. And I think we actually had a curtain, as creepy as this is probably an unknown fact for anybody but me and probably Andy. It was a curtain from where the funeral home in Hohenwald, McDonald Funeral Home, where Tater ran. He ran that. Him and Kathy Tate, Richard and Kathy Tate was our associate pastor in the first 2 years, and did administrative stuff. But he was the funeral director, and they did a remodel at the funeral home. And they used to have these huge blue curtains. They were kind of almost a blue jean color blue, dark blue. I don't know, was that navy blue, I guess? And they covered from, like, when the person is in the casket and they want to let the family just see, like the personal family view, and they would shut this curtain, and you would walk behind the curtain, do your deal, shut the casket, and then open those curtains up. Well, they redid that. And Tater said, hey, we've got this big blue curtain.
Thick and heavy.
Thick and heavy. Nice. I mean, still nice. Probably from the 70s, but super thick, big, nice. I said, man, that would be perfect as a backdrop. So we actually hung a cable across the whole, which would be the right in front of the auctioneer's booth.
The block.
And we ran little deals on it, hooks on it, and we just kept that cable there, and we would hook that on there every single Sunday.
Every Saturday night.
Or Saturday night when we set up, and that was the backdrop for years. So if you look at the old pictures, there are some old pictures, you'll see that blue backdrop. But I noticed in a picture somebody sent me the other day from somewhere in year 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 that it was a tan. So we must have replaced it at some point with like a tan color.
I don't remember that.
And got rid of the blue one. I guess we said, hey, this
and had the
funeral home deal.
Had the nursery across the street.
Had the nursery across the street in those apartments. Yeah.
They had a pretty good flock of guineas that used to hang out over there.
Oh yeah, Miss Ann loved those.
Guineas crapped everywhere, boy, and it used to aggravate Nathan's wife, Miss Ann, to no end. To this day, she does not like a guinea. So.
Yeah, she'll actually try to hit a guinea in the road just to get
which is
to
almost
payback.
Impossible, but
yeah.
But yeah, she hated guineas, boy.
Yeah. So that was the beginning. I think y'all we had been in this building right at a year when we started coming, and there was some memories that were talked about. I remember when we first started coming, something about Bill Adams and a fire out back, and
the night before our first service, we were here. It was probably 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. We'd worked all day and all night. We were trying to get it ready for our first Sunday service. And we've got one tree on this property, that big, beautiful tree out back. And we had a big brush pile in front of it and just scrap lumber, stuff from where we'd built the building. And that was Bill's job, was to get it going. And Bill lit it, and it never caught. And he went home because Bill, if everybody knows Bill Adams, he's in bed like 7, 8 o'clock and back up by 3. So when the fire department knocked on the door while we were inside here working and said, you have a fire out back, and we looked out back and you could see the fire from Etheridge to Lawrenceburg. We said, no, we didn't know that. So we took pictures and we called Bill because we figured he was up. He wasn't, but
Yeah. So who were you still here? You were still here?
Yeah, the wind picked up.
And you were here.
And it caught.
Yeah, there were probably, I'd say there were probably 10,
Clay was here.
15 of us. A lot of who are the lay pastors today were there that night. Clay and I remember vividly, Clay and I were still trying to hang screens and get the screens right from where we were projecting the words on the screen, this crazy new technology. When they did knock on the door, and it was actually Nathan Keaton and Todd Stewart, who now come to this church, and of course Todd is the facilitator of our security team and vital members here. But I remember them laughing and saying, do y'all know y'all have a fire? Because it wasn't just a fire.
It was.
I mean, you could feel the heat. It's probably 100 yards, 75 yards,
100 yards
from where the church, where the exit was at that point. Because now it's different with this other phase in. But I mean, you could feel the heat. You could feel the radiant heat on your face when you opened the door.
And we were scared.
And everything was, our whole property, 22 acres, was glowing from that one fire. I mean, the flames had to have been 20 foot tall.
We killed the only tree on the place, and that tree is probably 150, 60 years old, and it's a beautiful tree, and it's the only shade on 22 acres, and we thought, man, we have killed the only thing on this property.
The only living.
that old tree was just a dancing.
Yes, it was.
That tree was just a dancing.
That tree dodged that fire that day, and the fire the day that we were building the arena and set the sagebrush on fire.
Yes,
that was bad.
We started building the arena, and we set all our posts, which is 2 7/8 drill stem, and we set our posts. We were setting the top rails, and T. Reed, who's a member here, T was grinding, and he set the sagebrush on fire below him, and he just looked down and shrugged his shoulders, went back to work because T's a worker, and he did. And the next thing you know, we've got sagebrush, headed east on fire, and our neighbor's field was sagebrush, and we were scared to death we was gonna burn him out. And
it was rocking.
Young man that goes to church here, Jimmy Lambert, he run over there. Jimmy is originally from Texas, and Jimmy ripped his Levi jacket off, and he run over there, and I've never seen nobody 45 minutes beating sagebrush with a blue jean jacket. And when he got done, he got it put out, surprisingly, and he walked over and he said, and that's how we put fires out in Texas.
put that blue jean jacket back on, and it was just as black.
Burnt and black, and he was smoke covered, but he was.
Yeah, we dodged a bullet on that one right there.
That was
because we had plenty of sage back in those days.
There was, and I mean, that was the first event that me and my wife came to when we used to pack the Christmas shoe boxes, and it was a special event that we invited the whole church to. I think at that point in time it was like 157, 160 people.
Right,
came out, cooked breakfast for the men outside on an open fire.
Chuck wagon team.
And Ken asked me. He said, "You know how to run a skid loader?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, come on out, and we're gonna set these posts." And we set them posts that day.
Yep. That's the first place I remember talking to you.
Yeah,
I was out there because you wanted to talk about the cattle business.
Yeah,
I remember. Yeah, I'm thinking, what's this guy want to talk so much about the cattle business for?
Yeah,
why are we? Why he's like wearing me out about the cattle business, and that's when that's kind of when I know that wasn't the first time that you were here, just like what I told Ken earlier. Not the first time I necessarily may have met him, but the first time I remember carrying on a conversation.
I mean, it was awfully close to the first time we had been here.
Was that when you got that service truck stuck out here? That wasn't that same day, was it?
Yes. Well, no. It was close.
It was close.
It was close.
That was the day it began to snow and rain. It was about 40-ish degrees outside. Megan, we got done with all of the Operation Christmas Child stuff, and I took Megan home and come back.
Yes.
And got back on the skid loader, and we set all them posts, and it was blistering cold, and it was
we
about
set
2
all
weeks
the
later.
outside perimeter posts, and we'd had the church pad that the arena sits on. We'd had it built for a month or 2, 3, and we ordered the concrete to concrete them posts in. And Sam Woods used to come to church here. He was driving a mixer truck, and he rolled up in there, and he said, "Is that truck going to hold my truck?" And I said, "Well, yeah, it'll hold your truck." I said, "What do you think your truck weighs?" And it was like 65,000 pounds. And I said, well, I don't know. We'll just have to find out. And he drove out on it, and he made his way all the way around. We concreted all them posts in, and the church held, and we knew then that the church we'd put on top of the swamp would be good enough and would hold to actually have an arena ministry.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And, last thing, talk about memories, and then I really want to get into talking about the arena ministry. For me, one of my most fond memories was actually COVID, when we were having to work around, and we were doing our expansion during the 6 weeks. That was really when we hit and took off with the church expansion, was the 6 weeks that we closed the doors, and we were scrambling around, setting up cameras here and there to try and keep people informed and keep church going and bringing the band in and all of that. That was, to me, that was a time when everything stopped, but we were still, as a core group of people, we were still connected through doing those things. And for me, not being around in some of these early times, it was kind of an insight to what things were like back then.
Right.
There was just a few people that had access to the church, and we came in and we worked on building the building, and we worked on the church expansion and all of that stuff, and wasn't much else we could do. So, I mean, it was
right. And that was and that really was, when I look back at the 6 weeks, I'm glad that we stopped having in-person gatherings just only for the sake of the work that was able to be done here. I look back at it now. Of course, y'all know I hated I hated all 6 weeks. There was never a week I thought I really liked being a televangelist.
Yeah.
Because of course, I don't like televangelists really at all. Really, none of them. But I knew I didn't want to be one myself.
Right.
But I did not like preaching and it be 7 of y'all.
Yeah.
Right. That was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, that was about
it. But it did afford us. You're right. It did afford us a lot of not having to set up and tear down while we were kicking out these sides. And I mean, we did that as a knee-jerk reaction, not so much to what was going on with the government and who was saying what, but as a precaution because we didn't know what was going on. The more and more we found out about what was going on.
Yeah, it's like, hey, we're going back to church.
And some things that we could do to be proactive and some way we could communicate to people that were nervous still about it was to encourage people to, hey, come to church if you can. If you can't, watch at home. Here, we set up hand sanitizing stations, and
we had
our cleanup crew did a fantastic.
They did. We ended up fogging every week. We ended up setting up. Mike Hayworth ended up putting in the system that we still have today, where. And I'm not an HVAC guy, so I don't know.
Some sort of air purification.
On all of our units, so it does something in its exchange. And so there were some things that we did that were actually better for our church.
Yeah.
But those 6 weeks, man, they were not. I wasn't a big fan. And as soon as
it was definitely, I mean, it was weird. There's pictures floating around where we've got cameras set up on top of round tables, and you've got me and Andy and Clay just hovering around these cameras and iPads and just trying to make it work.
And we did, and I think we made it work, and it didn't really seem like all that was going on in the background, probably for the people at home that were watching. But man, I started the book of Acts right after that, or I started the book of Acts during that 6 weeks. And then I just, we talked about the importance of how the church's got to get together. They need to meet together. And if you are a Christian and you're not connected to the local body, how, really dangerous that is, and how you got to be connected for not only for the fellowship side, but also for the accountability side, right?
And
encouragement.
When you look at our church,
Absolutely.
how quickly, and I really can't explain it, but how quickly our church bounced back.
We recovered very, very.
Yeah, we recovered a whole lot. We fared a whole lot better than a lot of.
And
yeah, Lord blessed us for sure.
It really did. And it's one of those things that you really can't explain why. Because, I mean, you look at churches around us in the community, there's some that still haven't bounced back from it. And
there's one of the oldest churches in Lawrenceburg is for sale as we speak.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so sad to see churches that close.
Yeah.
It just is. I mean, I don't care who you are.
That's
what denomination,
church I
what
grew up in.
Yeah, but when you see a church for sale, it's
a big, beautiful old building, and from what I understand, I mean drive by, the for sale signs are in the yard, and what few people that were still there are meeting in a storefront.
Yep.
It's a sad situation. I'm sure COVID did not help them.
No, it didn't. But you've got a lot of churches that are that way, and we truly, as you said, we were truly blessed.
Yeah, we were.
And we
COVID was over, construction was done, and we're full again.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we pretty much relaunched this thing not long after that 6 weeks was up, right? How long did we stay under construction? I can't even remember. Once we went back in 6 weeks. Was that September?
We were still at 2 services when we went back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
we were still,
we didn't move into the wings until our anniversary celebration.
Yep. In
whatever
September.
That first, second week of September.
And that's when we went to one. That's when we went to one
gathering. We
service.
opened the wings up. So we actually had the wings closed back. We just went 6 weeks, got a lot of construction done, but it was still had plastic. That's right.
Yep. And we shut down middle of May. So did we come back July and August?
I can't remember.
I think we
shut down March.
Did we?
Yeah, it was still the cold months.
Okay.
I do remember that it was cold months. We came back in the summer.
Okay. It's been so long ago.
I'm so glad we're done with 2 services.
Me too, man. I do not like.
It's
you ready to go back to them?
It's like two. It's like 2 separate churches.
You know better than that.
Yeah.
It's people in the first service didn't know people in the second service, and vice versa, and they'd run into each other at Walmart. Hey man, you ought to come to church with me. I go to Thousand Hills Cowboy Church. I've been going there for 3 years. We've done it was a conversation that everybody had with somebody. So.
Yeah. Well, let's get on into arena ministry. This arena, our arena ministry has been going on now for 10 years, thereabouts. Why arena ministry? I mean, I understand we're a cowboy church, but what is the purpose of the arena ministry?
Well, we had an event last month, and I brought a devotion, and I told everybody, the whole reason that we have an arena ministry, don't get me wrong, it's fun. I like to watch good horses and good cowboys work together to accomplish a job. But the main reason we do it is to plant seeds.
Yeah.
There's people that will never darken the doorstep of this church, but they'll show up and watch somebody mug or trailer load or somebody run poles or barrels. So, we get a lot of people on the grounds that way. And of course, everything we do, whether it's arena ministry or chuck wagon ministry, any event we put on, the word is brought. It's a chance for people to hear the word of God in a setting that they don't feel like they're uncomfortable. Like some people are just uncomfortable in a church house. But out there in the arena, they're sitting there eating a hot dog. They've just watched half a rodeo, and then we bring the word of God. We plant some seeds. We're waiting on the Lord to tell us when to harvest.
Yeah.
It's all about planting seeds.
So, it's our outreach.
Yeah, I mean, it is the evangelistic arm of this particular body. Yeah. I mean, it just is. I mean, I grew up in churches back in the day where, we met on Monday nights. We went knocking on doors, ask questions, and hopefully get a chance to come in, sit down, and share the gospel with somebody. And so I knew that when we planted this church, that those things really don't work well. It's the only time, this is one thing I say in Cowboy Foundations, which is our doctrinal foundations class that we teach about every quarter for people that want to be members, is that we put lost people on our property every single week that may never darken the door of a church, like you said, Ken. People that, for whatever reason, the stigma of church says, I'm not going to go there. And so by doing that, we put them on our ground. Most churches have some sort of evangelistic deal they do. They may do a harvest festival around Halloween. They may do a spring men's wild game supper. They get men on their property. We take pretty much 5 months out of the year, and every single week we're putting people of all sorts of different backgrounds, possibly churched, unchurched, mixed, and they're coming in, and every single time we're taking that 5, 10, 15 minutes to share the gospel of Jesus, right? Doing exactly like Ken said. What did Paul say? He said, I planted, Apollos watered, but God caused the growth. And that's all we're doing. We're trusting God for the growth, but we're just planting and watering and being faithful with the gospel. And for us, it's paid in multiple ways. We've seen countless people come to know the Lord. I mean, we have practiced pretty much everything a normal church practices in the arena, right?
Yes.
We have baptized in the arena.
We're baptized.
We've done the Lord's Supper, which is very difficult, but we have done it.
Get it in the to-go cup.
And we've done the Lord's Supper to go. That's the ones that have the juice and the wafer on the top. You have to peel them back. It's difficult. I call them Lord's Supper to go. I'm hoping that that's not wrong. I know that's not what they're called, but it's just saying that. You know what I'm saying?
I mean, they do put plastic in there for a wafer.
It's the Lord's Supper to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave your comments to yourself. No, I'm just playing. And we've married people.
Yes.
Yeah. We've buried people.
Yep.
I mean,
yes.
We've done funerals there. And so the arena for us has really been a place of ministry that goes beyond just roping something.
Yeah,
that's right.
Just goes beyond rodeo. And we don't worship rodeo. We love rodeo. We love critters. We love animals. We love bovine, equine. I mean, we are those types of people. But the Lord has given us an opportunity to do unique ministry to where we're bringing a lot of roughnecks onto our property that otherwise will not darken the parking lot
and not
of a church house.
Not only have we seen salvations through that God used that ministry for the purpose of salvation, but we've also seen those people come and become active members of the body,
100%.
true active members of the body that are involved in the arena team, that are involved in other ministries throughout our church.
Agreed.
Through that particular ministry.
Absolutely.
And so
because there's a variety of gifts that are being utilized every single time the lights flip on in the arena.
Absolutely.
If you think about all that it takes to get prepared for one event, there are many, many hands that it takes. It's not just 5 or 10 people that are doing everything. It's multiple.
We're truly blessed with a bunch of people that don't care to get dirty. I mean, they we've got a young man that feeds cattle through the week and rides them and checks them and makes sure they're in good shape for the rodeos, and that's he's not paid to do that. And nobody in this arena team, concessions team, can't forget them because they work their tails off.
Yes, sir.
None of these people are compensated in any other way than to serve the church, to actually serve the church. And like Nathan's preached for the last couple of years, saved to serve. And they show up, and after they've been to 2 or 3 events, Saturday night after our ranch rodeo, a guy come up to me and said, "What do I got to do to get involved in the arena team?" I said, "Show up and work
and be ready to work."
And we've one of the stories I think about is Greg Dubberly used to lead music here. His son does now. We were building the arena, and that's about the time Greg showed up and his family. And I announced we was having a work day. Greg said, "Hey, I'll be there. What are we doing?" I said, "We're doing a lot of welding, grinding. If you don't know how, well, you pick something up." Greg shows up. He says, "Hey, I don't know how to weld, but what do I got to do?" So we showed him how to burn a rod. The next time we had a work day, Greg shows up with the Tractor Supply pipeliner starter kit, a pair of gloves, a chipping hammer, and a welding hood. And spent the entire day welding and did a fine job of it, because it ain't got to be pretty in the arena. It's just got to hold.
That's right.
And
a lot of his welds have outheld some professional welders.
Yeah. You burn 3 rods on one weld. I mean, he didn't spare the rod. I can promise you that. But yes, it's just people like that. They just showed up and they wanted to get involved.
Yeah.
And they stuck.
And you know what, this
through
thing,
an arena ministry, they stuck and became members. And some people have showed up that didn't know the Lord, that now know the Lord, have received salvation, and are members of the church.
Yeah.
And some people showed up and helped, and it wasn't their cup of tea, and they rolled on. And we're good with that too.
And what,
as long as they go somewhere.
Talking about the concessions team, there's 8 to 10 in there.
Easy.
Every rodeo or arena event, there's 12 to 15 actually working inside the arena.
Yes.
There's 3 or 4 up in the booth, in the announcer booth. And then there's 6, 8 sometimes downstairs.
Registration. The ladies that handle registration, bless their hearts, man. They take in the money. They do the online registration, the in-person registration. They answer phone calls. And I mean, they work their tails off, so it takes.
We've come a long way from a flatbed trailer.
Yes, we can use any gift on the arena ministry.
Yeah, we've come a long way from a flatbed trailer in the
sorting or whatever we did. The first event was a sorting on the back of a hay wagon, wasn't it?
Yes.
Yep.
We've come a speaker,
the portable speaker system, and
there's no. Because you just listed like 30, 40 people that it takes to pull one of these deals off.
Yes.
So 30 or 40 volunteers.
And they show up
for these types of rodeos.
Faithfully.
Yeah. And your concession team, they're trying to do 2 rotations. So, you may have 8 to 10 twice.
Right.
Because
they get here early and they go to standing on their feet and
not counting the shopping they do beforehand.
Yeah.
To make sure the groceries are in there so that everybody can be fed.
Yeah, they're doing a fine job.
Fantastic.
This has been a really great year, I think, overall for rodeo. It's been good. Crowds have been up. There's lots and lots of people here that are coming out just to spectate because obviously it's free to park, free to watch. You can go and eat a pretty good meal for a good, decent price. Yes. And so it's good.
It's kind of a great segue into our 15-year anniversary.
15 years.
15 years.
That's hard to believe. I was your age when we started.
I wasn't.
No, you weren't, Ken. No, you weren't. But I promise you were closer. You were closer to 45 than you were to 60.
Yes, I was.
So what's crazy is that you were 3 years younger than me. Than I am currently.
Now I'm
when we
60.
started. Now you're hitting 60.
Now I'm bumping 60 next year.
Oh.
You seemed older then. Because I was just 33.
Yeah.
All this ministry work keeps you young.
That's right. You look the same, Ken. Does that make you feel better?
It makes me feel better.
I know I don't look the same, but I know you look the same.
Well, I seen a picture. My wife had a picture of this yesterday, and she pulled it out, and she said, "You remember this?" And I looked at it, and I said, "Yeah, that was when Colton was in Star Rodeo, and we was at the banquet, and it's me and her sitting at the table, and I actually had a brown mustache, and I didn't recognize myself."
Yeah, it was a little bit darker back in those days, but hey, that's all that wisdom that's coming out, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
They can't hate on that.
Ken's code word at the arena is Silver Fox.
The Silver Fox.
Because of that head of hair.
Now, see, he wouldn't even have that name, Boomer, if he would have stayed brown all these years.
Right.
There wouldn't be no such thing as a Silver Fox.
Exactly.
Which I think
and the
Colton,
brown fox doesn't just have that ring to it.
Doesn't have
doesn't.
that
Brown
ring,
fox just sounds kind of weird.
It does. Yeah.
I think Colton, his boy actually, his youngest boy gave him the silver. I think he was calling him the Silver Fox before pre-rodeo.
Somebody called me that.
Was that
next
not
thing
Colton?
I know, I kept hearing it on the radio.
I'm pretty sure that me and Colton were sitting upstairs, and I was like, "Your dad, he took that hat off, and pulled that comb out of his pocket,
yes,
and went
silver."
And I said,
"That's
look at the Silver Fox
Silver
out there,
Fox getting her done." So Boomer is the one that cursed you.
Yeah, with the name. But
okay.
15
years, that is amazing.
That's crazy.
15 years.
It's hard to play. They said it wouldn't last.
Feels like yesterday we was at stock barn.
It really does.
It does.
It
does. 15 years. Going to have to be a big blowout, though.
It is. It is.
We're going to do our church in the dirt
Yes, sir.
Which is normally what we do on Easter Sunday. Only this one won't be at sunrise. We're going to do church in the dirt, and right after church in the dirt, our chuck wagon team, another ministry team here with a great group of guys that don't care to cook they cook on an open fire, whether it's 18 degrees or 118. Mm-hmm. They do not care. And they're going to do 2 pigs, half a beef, probably do 20 or 30 gallons of chili. For those of you who don't like it with beans, it'll be beans and no beans. And then we're going to
pick your poison.
Do another 30 or 35 gallons of cowboy soup just to make sure that nobody is going to leave hungry. That's our goal. And then right after we eat, man, we got Dennis Morris, Rafter M Rodeo Company, stock contractor out of Springfield, Tennessee, bringing bulls and broncs.
Sweet.
We'll do bulls, we'll do saddle broncs, and of course, my favorite, the barebacks.
Yeah.
And it's an IPRA sanctioned event. It's a lot of added money, buckles to the winners. This is going to be a great day.
Yeah.
And church is free at 10 a.m.
Yeah, and you really need to come and get it all.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, don't just show up to the rodeo, right? Don't show up to the rodeo.
Everything.
Show up to everything.
Show up to it all.
It's going to be a great day. 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Free to park.
Free to park.
Whether you get here at 9 a.m. or you get here at 2 a.m.
That's right.
2
Better parking at 9 a.m.
Much better, closer parking.
2 p.m. is going to be the worst parking.
Yeah. Yes. You might have to park.
You may have to park at one of the Amish's house.
Yeah. Yeah. So get here at 9
ish.
Church.
I'm sure we're going to have coffee.
We'll have coffee for sure.
There's always coffee.
Coffee. We can't meet without having coffee.
That's right.
Maybe some homemade donuts made by the chuck wagon team.
Some beignets.
Some beignets.
I don't even know what that means.
It's a homemade donut.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a homemade donut.
It's French.
From New Orleans.
Oh, it's New Orleans. Cajun French.
Yeah.
I understand.
Coffee.
Coffee.
Starting probably somewhere around 9 o'clock.
Yes.
Church kicking off at 10.
Right.
Lunch as soon as we can get everything swapped over.
Right.
And rodeo at 1:30.
Yes, sir.
Right.
It's going to be a big day.
It's going to be
a big full day. Lot to celebrate. I mean, when we first drove up here, we had some creek rock and some chert put on the front where everybody parks now, and Nathan remembers it. It was probably settled by the time Boomer started coming, but we'd pull in to work on the building, and it was like driving on buried mattresses because this ground is so swampy.
Just walk, yeah.
And now she's solid. You know, we got a good foundation, which we've talked about in our men's Bible study. We've got a good foundation. The Lord has truly, truly blessed this church. I mean, all our ministry teams are wide open right now. I mean, it's truly amazing what has happened in 15 years.
We did learn though that if you park an 18-wheeler, if you park a tractor trailer out there,
if he dollies the trailer
and dollies it down, and you leave it for a week,
the next morning.
You're going to need to get it out of there.
Yeah, it's going to have some trouble.
Yeah, but no, we have our ministry teams are rocking and rolling.
Yes,
we've got lots of things going on, and the Lord's truly has blessed us to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
if you don't have a church home, show up, enjoy the spectacle, the celebration. If you like it, come back. We may have a place to plug you in.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I guarantee you we will.
We will put you to work somewhere if that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Well, guys, I sure appreciate y'all taking the time out of your days to come up and talk about times of the past, times of the present. We may have another podcast coming up for times of the future.
No telling what it holds.
There's no telling what it holds.
Yeah, there's no telling what it holds.
But I appreciate y'all, and I just enjoy being a part of this group and everything that we've been through. It's me and Megan's been here 10 years.
Yes, sir.
So
that's hard, and that's hard for me to believe. It just seemed like it was yesterday whenever y'all got here.
Yep.
Yeah.
So that's hard for me to believe. So, and if you want to hear a story about the pink Crocs, you can go to episode
probably
1, 2, 3.
Well,
in there.
it's gonna be this time last year.
Yeah.
Because it was we were talking about the anniversary service.
Yeah.
The pink Crocs.
Yeah. So if you've tuned into this, go back and listen.
Yeah.
And so since these are on like Spotify and Apple Music and all the places
iHeartRadio,
YouTube, Facebook, all those,
yep.
you can go back and you can watch. And every one of these podcasts. I'd gotten behind a couple. I was painting the other day. I found them on Spotify, started listening to them, and really enjoyed, a couple that I'd missed. I'd missed the one with Tyler and missed the one with Clay, and thought both of those were just really, really excellent podcasts. And so go back and give them a listen. Give them a listen to again.
And
sure.
For those that don't know, if you miss a Sunday service and you're riding around and you want to listen to Nathan's preaching on Sunday morning, you can also find those on Thousand Hills Cowboy Church podcast. And it's just the preaching. It doesn't have the worship with it, but just the preaching. You can go catch that on Thousand Hills Cowboy Church channel. I believe it's on the Apple Music, Spotify.
Okay, so it's the same setup.
I believe so. Yes, sir.
Okay.
So if you miss one and you just want to listen to it, you don't want to have your phone open on Facebook or YouTube. That's an option for you as well. So
because that is an aggravation with YouTube, having to keep the phone open and it killing your battery, especially while you're driving or something like that.
So options there. We hope to be kicking off some more things in the future. So keep an eye out on that. We'll keep you updated on it as well. But again, thank y'all, and
enjoy.
Have a good week. Come see us on September the 10th, kicking off at 10 a.m. Right
Don't
here.
have to wait till the 10th. Come see us Sunday.
Yeah, that's right. You can come this Sunday for sure.
For sure.
The 10th for sure for everything that's going on. God has been good, and we want to celebrate and make much of Him. Believe me, we're not going to make much of rodeo or us. We're going to make much of Jesus. He's the reason why we're here and the reason why we are able to do what it is we do.
Amen.
Yes.
Hey,
Amen.
Nathan, do you care to wrap us up in prayer?
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
We'll see y'all on the next one.
Absolutely. Lord, we just come to you and we praise you and we worship you. And we do thank you. We thank you for Thousand Hills Cowboy Church. We thank you for the members of Thousand Hills Cowboy Church, the folks that have paved the way, that have allowed us to just do ministry the way that we've done according to your purpose and your plan. I thank you for the faithful few, God, that have really poured into ministry, bought into the Great Commission and what it is that you called all Christians to do, to go and make disciples of all nations. And I pray, God, for the next 15, that we will do exactly the same, that we will care about reaching those who are not reached, those that haven't heard the gospel, that we would have a conviction, Lord, to go out and reach the people that need it the most. We thank you for that. We pray that you would continue to use us for your glory. In the name of Jesus, I pray. Amen.
Amen.